Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Salenti, and it's Wednesday, June 25th. We're having a heat wave, tropical heat wave. Woo! Is it hot? And we got a real man that's hot on the facts of what used to be called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, thank you for being here. And you have a new article coming out, as you do each week. And everybody, you want to go to Judging Freedom if you want to see what in the world is going on a real level regarding life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And happiness is a dirty word. Don't you say happiness anymore, all right? Judge, you got an article coming out tomorrow, The Coming Police State. And with all due respect, I think it's not coming, it's here. But anyway, you say, we've seen this before. A foreign entity attacks American persons or property, and the government warns that its sleeper cells have infiltrated the United States, and it's somehow necessary to expand the powers of the government and shrink protections of civil liberties. And this shrinking will somehow keep us alive. Yep. Hey, Judge, remember when you used to get on an airplane and they didn't fill you up and you didn't have to get through remember, they didn't have a TSA. Oh, they're going to blow up an airplane. Hey, shithead, they could blow up anything. Anything they could. Oh, no, only airplanes.
TSA was the brainchild of one of the most reprehensible public officials in the modern era, Dick Cheney. Yep. And of course, he never was subjected to this himself because of his ability to fly on government jets and then eventually on private jets.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that when you go into a TSA, I know this is not the subject of our conversation, but while we're on it, when you go in to meet the TSA, what do? Raise your hands like you're surrendering.
Yep.
This is what the government forces you to do. Raise your hands like you're surrendering. People from Teddy Kennedy to Rand Paul have refused to raise their hands and have been restrained by the TSA and made to sit in some area until they came over and talked to them. I was once subject to a rather vigorous individualized search. I'm sure they did it to me intentionally. The guy came over to me and he goes, "Judge, we picked you." I said, "You picked me for what?" "We picked you for an individualized search."
Yep.
I mean, I don't take your clothes off, but they do touch you all over your body right in front of everybody else.
I know. Well, I won't go through that electronic thing because of the damage that it causes. So I get felt up every time. I hate to fly anymore.
Yeah.
I hate it. I don't do it. And again, it's about, this is what I said when your article, you said the coming police state. It's already a police state.
So our mutual friend Joe Loria emailed me at the crack of dawn and said, "I loved your piece, but your title is wrong. It's already here."
Yep. Same thing.
And he's right. Tomorrow I'll be talking to John Whitehead of the Rutherford Institute.
Oh, he's great.
Covers police excess better than anybody else, and is 1,000% in our camp, and has been writing about this for many years. But this is probably what will come, Gerald. The FBI has already issued warnings about retaliation for the bombing. Donald Trump spent $100 million to bomb empty tunnels. He had his Secretary of Defense call the planning brilliant. It was planned in the Biden administration. And he himself said, "We totally obliterated their nuclear capability." Yesterday, his own intelligence community said we didn't lay a glove on their nuclear capability because they got the centrifuges and the enriched material out of there before our bombs arrived. And just like you said, he didn't believe Tulsi Gabbard, his director of national intelligence, when she said the intelligence community consensus is that they are not building nuclear weapons and are nowhere near it. He disbelieved her, and he disbelieved his intelligence community today. He either believes what he wants to believe or whatever Benjamin Netanyahu tells him to believe.
I don't know how this thing really ended. I go to all the media. I go to Press TV, Tehran Times, to see what they have to say, the Iranians, and they're having big rallies going, applauding what the Iranians have done. And I don't know if they were successful or not either. Obviously, the bombing of the United States military camp over there in Qatar, it was known that they were going to do it. So I don't know who won or who lost, and I keep hearing different information about what happened. Here's a quote from Trump. Remember, on last Friday, he said, I'm going to decide whether or not we're going to bomb Iran in 2 weeks. And the next day, it was bombs away.
Well, we know now that definitely was a lie, because it takes longer than 24 hours to put all this in motion. So he had already decided to bomb. This is the second colossal lie that he thought he used to dupe the Iranians. The first was, we're having serious negotiations with you, and the next negotiation is Sunday. And that Friday, 2 days before the Sunday, is when the Israelis attacked. The second one was the 2-week delay period that you just quoted. He has destroyed his credibility internationally. He has destroyed the credibility of all American diplomats internationally. The Pentagon thinks he's a farce, as does Beijing. Nobody can believe any words that come out of his mouth.
This is what he said on Saturday after the United States bombed Iran. I want to thank, you ready? And congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. Wonderful job they've done? You mean like slaughtering all those innocent people in Palestine?
Oh, that he's paid for, that he's funding with our dollars. Yep.
Yeah. And bombs and missiles. Could you imagine saying, I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu? We worked as a team. Oh, with a murderous criminal, you worked as a team. Aren't you proud of that?
Ambassador Charles Freeman on my show yesterday referred to Netanyahu as the worst Jewish person in the history of the world because of his slaughtering of innocents and theft of property and manipulation of the American government to support whatever he wants.
And as you point out, look how the American government loves him.
Yes.
How many times did they give him a standing ovation?
56 times in a 58-minute speech. The loudest standing ovation was when he condemned demonstrators, Americans exercising their First Amendment rights in front of the Capitol building.
And it goes back to your article. The police state, not the coming police state. You go on, when James Madison referred to the creation of the American Republic as an inversion, he must have been met with quizzical looks and curious laughter. He meant that throughout history, popular governments came about by monarchs and despots, the sovereign begrudgingly giving up power. This was, to Madison, power giving liberty.
But the American model was the opposite of that. In the American model, the revolutionaries who threw out the British were absolutely free at the end of the American Revolution. And they created a new government that was freedom-giving power. The opposite. That's why I called it an inversion of the power-giving freedom model. But they did so under strict limitations, and they wrote those limitations down in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and they required every public office holder to swear an oath of fidelity to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That oath means nothing today, absolutely nothing. President declares war, the president fights a war. The police surveil every keystroke on every mobile device and desktop without a warrant. Cops arrest people without warrants. Cops wearing masks and with their badges in their pockets, so you don't even know who they are. You can't even testify against them. Arrest people without warrants. That's what is here in Donald Trump's America today.
Yep.
Now,
Again,
the surveillance did not start with Trump. The surveillance started with Bush Cheney.
Yep.
You would think Trump would be wary of the surveillance since he himself was victimized by it. What has he done since he came in office? Made it worse. Centralized the gathering of warrantless data so that it's easier for the FBI to get their hands on it.
You know, again, he does what he wants. I mean, bombing Iran, they didn't do anything to us.
Correct.
They're no threat to us. We've been taught to hate them all our lives. The Iranians, when they overthrew the dictator, the Shah. And speaking of dictators, you write, you say, thus, at the end of the American War for Independence, which began 250 years ago, there was no central government here. The king's agents and soldiers had been chased back to England, and many of his judicial and administrative officials retreated into private life or suddenly became patriots. You write, the king's agents. I am so sick and damn tired of calling these little slime balls kings and royal families. They're murderous bastards. Oh, the sun never sets on the British Empire. We kill people all over the world, but we're a royal family. They're a mafia. If they were Italian, they'd be disgraced as a mafia. But people still call them kings. Oh, you like the Dutch king? Oh, they did a great job in the Congo and in Indonesia. Oh, the French in French Indochina, in Vietnam, Laos. What's this king crap?
You mean you didn't go to Charles III's coronation 2 years ago?
And dressed up in his little costume?
Right there he is.
Yeah. Look at it. Look at this. These are the clowns running the world. Right in front of your eyes, an arrogant little piece of scum. One after another.
Yes.
And you write here, Judge, about, very important, there was no central government in America.
Well, there was no central government in America. People had a lot more freedom than they do today. And then the new government was created for purely federal purposes, but we all know what became of it.
Yep. And again, you write over here, we're talking about 9/11, the George W. Bush administration offered legislation that it had mysteriously drafted before 9/11.
Patriot Act was drafted before 9/11. They were just waiting for the opportunity to spring it on the Congress. It's 115 pages long. They gave House members 15 minutes to read it. Nobody, not even Ron Paul, was able to read it in 15 minutes.
And boy, and Orwell couldn't have come up with a better title than the Patriot Act.
Correct.
In order to give the illusion of safety, the feds created fake crimes, and they had the FBI ostentatiously, quote, solve them. Dozens of sad folks were lured into FBI web by undercover agents pretending to be in sleeper cells and encouraging these folks to join a conspiracy to commit crimes that, of course, never occurred. Explain that, please.
Oh, well, sure. The FBI finds some Arab American loner. They find him in a bar, well, not a bar. These guys don't drink. They find him somewhere and they gratiate themselves with him. They become his friends and they say, don't you hate the government? Let's get them back for what they've done in the Middle East. I can get you enough explosive to blow up the New York City subway. The guy goes along with it. They plan, they plot, they tape the guy doing all this. They bring him the explosive. It's talcum powder. And of course, even if he did ignite it, it's talcum powder. It's not explosive. And then with cameras there from CNN and the others, they swoop down and ostentatiously arrest this guy and then go on the cameras and say, see how we saved you. Well, what did you save us from? A guy trying to light a match to talcum powder. There was no crime. There was no harm. And you want to be heroes for this. And you claim this is a threat. You, the FBI, are the threat.
And again,
that happened about that. Now, this is a generalization that I've made, but that is the model for what they did about 25 or 30 times during the Bush years to justify the Patriot Act. All the Patriot Act did was invade our privacy and suppress our liberties. And it didn't keep anybody safe.
Judge, we need a new third party.
Yes, we do.
Keep saying over and over again, you're the man. On the issues of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and bringing back life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to this nation. I mean, look what Trump just did, bombs away over Iran. You know, he had no right doing that.
No, he bombed the lawful, inspected, ratified by the UN activity of a sovereign nation. Could you imagine if another nation bombed our nuclear enrichment because they thought we were going to attack them? How would we react? We'd start World War III. We would demolish whoever did this to us. He had no moral right. He had no legal right. He had no constitutional right, but he did it anyway. Now he's being lauded at literally as we speak by the lefty creeps that run the European nations that are in NATO.
Yep. And did you see NATO, by the way, they announced that they're going into a 5% of their GDP now for defense.
World War III coming.
And the stupidity of it, making all these tanks and planes and ships. It's new millennium warfare. It's not going to, all this stuff is antiquated.
Correct.
Total waste of money. And here's the big lie they keep saying, because Germany is the third largest economy in the world. They've been in recession for 2 years. They're going to be spending $1 trillion to rebuild their military. Oh, we're going to build our infrastructure so they can hold the tanks up, right? Anyway, it doesn't build your GDP. Your gross domestic product is built when the manufacturers that the products that you manufacture are consumed by the people. The bombs, the bullets, and the planes not being consumed by the people. They're only enriching the military industrial complex.
Correct. You're 100% correct. And this is basic economics 101. This is not some elaborate fringe theory that these people reject.
So they're taking us to war. And if we don't have peace on earth, it's going to be hell on earth.
Yes.
And we need to make this happen. Judge, thank you so much for what you're doing. And everybody, as I say, there's only one. I've been at this. Last person I voted for, by the way, for president was Ron Paul, 2012. How could you be so stupid, anybody, to vote for, quote, a lesser of two evils? There's no such thing. Evil is evil. That's like saying almost pregnant, you know?
Right, right. Or a little bit of poison.
Yeah, there you go. Judge, thank you again. And everybody go to Judging Freedom if you want to see what in the world is going on that you're not going to see anywhere else. See you next week, Judge.
Thank you, Gerald. All the best.